Hi guys, in the first lesson of this module I mentioned the author John Milton because he wrote Areopagitica, a powerful pamphlet in defense of free speech and freedom of the press. In this lesson we are going to read some excerpts of that, but before we get there, let's take a moment to understand who Milton was. Milton was born in London in 1608 into a prosperous, educated family who encouraged his love for books, and he really loved books. He studied so hard that he was nicknamed the Lady of Christ's College because he was pale, reserved, and always reading. He traveled extensively in Europe, especially Italy, where he met intellectuals and absorbed our culture. He even met Galileo, who was under house arrest at the time. Milton later proudly mentioned this meeting in Areopagitica. He wrote and spoke English, Latin, Greek, Hebrew, Italian, and even a bit of French. He was a political thinker. He believed in religious freedom and in the idea that individuals should be able to read, think, and judge for themselves. He was a Puritan, but not a strict one. He believed in the power of art and culture. Unfortunately, later in life, he became completely blind. Yet he kept writing, dictating his works to assistants and even to his daughters. He died in 1674, peacefully at his home in London after years of declining health. Milton's career is usually divided into three phases. His most famous work, Paradise Lost, is an epic poem that tells the story of the fall of man. Satan is the main character of the poem. He wakes up in hell after being defeated by God. He refuses to give up, gathers the fallen angels, and decides to take revenge on humankind. Milton comes from two main influences: Renaissance humanism, which valued education, classical culture, and the power of human reason, and Puritanism, which focused on religion and moral discipline. Because of this mix, his writing is both intellectual and deeply spiritual. His style is rich and sophisticated, with long, carefully constructed sentences. It's filled with references to ancient Greek and Roman writers, which show his classical education, but is also emotional and powerful, especially when he talks about faith and freedom. It's also driven by strong moral and political beliefs. Milton believed that literature wasn't just entertainment. To him, writing had a higher purpose. It should help people grow, understand the world better, and become more virtuous. Areopagitica is a pamphlet published in 1644 in the middle of the English Civil War. Milton wrote it to protest against a new law introduced by Parliament in 1643, the Licensing Act, that required every book to be checked and approved before being printed. The title comes from the Areopagus, an important court in ancient Athens. It's important because it's one of the foundational texts on freedom of expression in the Western world, and it later influenced democratic constitutions and thinkers. In this pamphlet, Milton argues that truth must be free to fight falsehood. Reading, even dangerous books, is essential for intellectual growth. Censorship treats adults like children, and a nation cannot become virtuous without open debate. You will now listen to and read a few famous quotes from Areopagitica. When you're done, don't forget to complete your reading toolbox.
Give me the liberty to know, to utter, and to argue freely according to conscience, above all other liberties.
This is the thesis of Areopagitica. Freedom of expression is the foundation of all liberties. Without it, political and religious freedom cannot exist.
Who kills a man kills a reasonable creature, God's image. But he who destroys a good book kills reason itself, kills the image of God, as it were, in the eye.
Books contain the essence of human intellect. If you censor or destroy a book, you are basically attacking human reason itself. So it's even worse than harming a person, according to Milton.
A wise man will make better use of an idle pamphlet than a fool will do of sacred scripture.
Milton here means that wisdom comes from the reader, not the text. A wise person can learn even from something trivial, while a fool learns nothing from the most sacred writings. His point supports intellectual freedom. What matters is the ability to judge, not the restriction of books.
Many a man lives a burden to the earth, but a good book is the precious lifeblood of a master spirit, embalmed and treasured up on purpose to a life beyond life.
Milton contrasts ordinary human lives, which may pass without leaving too much behind, with great books, which preserve the deepest thoughts and creativity of exceptional minds. A good book, in his view, makes the writer's ideas immortal, so that they can continue influencing future generations.
For books are not absolutely dead things, but do contain a potency of life in them to be as active as that soul was whose progeny they are. Nay, they do preserve as in a vial the purest efficacy and extraction of that living intellect that bred them.
Milton argues that books are not dead objects, but carry the living force of the mind that produced them. We often think reading is boring or old-fashioned, but Milton reminds us that every book is a living conversation waiting to happen, a mind still speaking to us across time.
Let her, truth and falsehood, grapple. Whoever knew truth put to the worse in a free and open encounter? Her confuting is the best and surest suppressing.
Milton says that truth never loses when it's allowed to face falsehood openly. If we let ideas confront each other freely, the stronger one will always prevail. The only real way to silence truth is to refuse to let it be challenged. We sometimes think it's safer to avoid certain debates, but Milton insists that open discussion is what actually protects truth. So for Milton, truth and learning all depend on the freedom to think and to speak without fear. His words still challenge us to defend open debate and resist any form of intellectual censorship. In the next videos of this module, we'll continue exploring the theme of freedom of expression, this time from an artistic angle, with a writer who turned beauty, wit, and provocation into a personal revolution. We are heading into the brilliant world of Oscar Wilde.